Welcome to Livery.
So this article here with Porsche.
Yeah.
You got to tell us more about this.
Okay.
Because I remember when it came out and I was like, who is this motherfucker? But give us the backstory on it.
Yeah. So it kind of all goes back to before the season started. When I got involved with getting into Carrera Cup, I had been talking with Kelly Moss, and they kind of really pushed Porsche along to help me get the season going. And then I found out I was the first African American in Carrera Cup history. Like, I didn't know. I was just trying to race.
Is that global Carrera Cup or was it US?
Technically it's global.
Yeah.
But because there's never been an African American in any of their series.
So in Europe, Carrera Cup, Asia, Carrera Cup.
I think there's maybe been one or two other people of color in like Carrera Cup Germany and places like that. But outside of that, no chance. And even in Carrera Cup America, Efren Castro is Dominican. But that being said, he flies a Dominican flag and everything like that. So Carrera Cup kind of saw him as the first Latino in their space. So I fit another genre or another, market that they hadn't touched yet. And I don't think they were necessarily, I don't think they knew until they knew. And then they made an announcement about it. And then from there, it kind of snowballed throughout the rest of the season. And midway through the season, Christophorus, which I just became a Porsche owner. So I didn't know what Christophorus was. I didn't know they had this magazine they published for the dealership, and it's around the world and everything. And they were like, we'd like to do an article on you. And I was okay. It took like a couple months to arrange, but then they came out to Austin, and the oddest part to me was it's a lifestyle magazine. So they didn't want to do anything at the racetrack or around race cars or anything like that. They wanted to get to know me and see what I do in my everyday life. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty fun.
So it wasn't premeditated. It wasn't like a planned, like, we need someone in here, Jordan's our guy.
No, not at all. No, it was more like similar to like me becoming the first African American in Carrera Cup. It was kind of a happy accident in certain senses, that all of a sudden we have this guy who's in the sport doing it. He's doing well, and he's representing something that's never been represented before. Mm-hmm. So I think there was that. And it was also the fact that I think Porsche and a lot of brands in sports cars right now are trying to reshape what a gentleman driver looks like. And technically, because of my age and things like that, I'm considered a gentleman driver or a bronze level driver because of when I got my FIA license. So there's a bit of that too, that they're trying to show that it's not all old white rich guys that are getting to do the sport, and for me, it was something that I just wanted to make sure I was putting it out there that this is possible for anybody. That was my big thing, is like, if we're willing to do an article about something like that, then I'm down.
Have you found any sense of community outside of sort of the old rich white people in racing? Like, is there a subset of people that are in the industry that you're like, all right, cool. Like, we're all trying to change it together.
For sure. I'd say that's how I ended up with you guys at Livery is I'm on a constant hunt for it, because I'm normally the only person of color in my sphere wherever I'm at.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to find, obviously, other people of color, but at the same time too, just people who get it from a level of like sport and also lifestyle. And when I say lifestyle, I mean, we don't just do this, to tout that we do it. We do it because it's fun, because it's cool. We like the way we look. We like the way we do it. We like all of that. So for me, that was how I found my people within the industry. Now, it's a very small, tight-knit group. Most of us are all in the same boat. We're very high level with very limited resources and opportunities, because that's what we're coming from. But we have a view of the sport that is very passionate and very knowledgeable, but it's also not coming from a place of like wealth and privilege and all of that. So I think it allows us to look at all of motorsports in a way that could help it grow, like in a real way, like similar to like sticking wall sports, like where you really, it's almost government funded in certain senses, right?
Yeah.
Like we're trying to get to a level where we can see this lifestyle throughout different cultures all over the place too. I like to remind people that, Black people drive cars too, like, and so it'd be silly to think they don't like racing and that they wouldn't be into it and all, so all I'm trying to do on that front is build a community too. So like I have found my people, but there's also the other aspect of it is when you're the first of any kind in something, you're also kind of building the community for the people who come behind you too. And that's another thing I've found is I have probably a group of like 30 plus young African-American and Latino Asian guys that are all in a group called the Underrated Drivers of Color, like in our little chat. And I'm lucky enough to be kind of the mentor of that. Yeah. And it is very promising to me, but also imperative that we open the sport up because these guys are so passionate that they're the reason the sport's going to grow.
So what are the access points for those people that you're trying to inspire? Is it sim racing or karting?
Sim racing is
engineering?
Huge. Well, the biggest one over the past 10 years is sim racing. Obviously, sim racing has democratized racing to an extent.
Yeah.
I think we still are at a place where the difference between being in a real car and being in a sim is big in certain senses. I would say not learning tracks, not necessarily certain technical skills, but G-forces, other people, real life, consequences, things like that.
Yeah.
That's tough to teach. It's tough to gain experience. And I think that's one of the hardest parts about getting people from other cultures, other backgrounds and things like that into the sport is getting them that level of experience so that they can get there. So for me, simulators is a good start, but I'm a big proponent of real life racing. And even if that means in real life seat time, even if that means rental carts, if it means autocross, rallycross with SCCA, or even, I joke, I decided I was going to be a professional driver when I was 19 years old. And that meant I needed to get paid to drive. And so I went and got a job as a pizza delivery guy, because that was going to pay me to drive.
Right.
And seat time is the best modification for any car.
Yeah.
Like I tell people that all the time. They're like, what should I do to my car to make it faster? And I was like, drive it.
Right.
Learn to drive it, because the reality for a lot of people is like, I could probably outpace you in your GT3 in a Miata, looking in my rearview mirror, holding a radio and telling you how to do better.
Yeah.
So it really, and that all comes from seat time. Like I just did, when I was in my early 20s, I couldn't afford a go-kart. Mm-hmm. So I did every rental kart league. I mean, I got to a point where I was flying monthly from DC to LA to go race in a more competitive rental kart league because I wanted to get better. And I wasn't going to be able to buy a cart and spend $20,000, $50,000 a year on racing, So, and luckily enough in that era, there were probably a few thousand other guys who felt the same way. Yeah. And especially in SoCal, like they had a rental kart league at Cal Speed that was called the Super Series. And it was 150 regulars that would show up once a month. And it was like, we had an A main, B main, C main, and D main. And it was intense.
What carts were they?
They were just 4-stroke rental carts. And we would put 40 carts on track. And it was like road course but it was like NASCAR. Like you were pack racing the whole time.
Yeah.
And
those can get real rowdy with the big steel bumpers all the way around.
Yeah, exactly. And for
talking about consequences.
Yeah,
there are almost none other than getting
exactly. And for me, I had come from the East Coast where I had won everything. And I was like, I felt like hot, hot doo-doo. I was ready to go, and I came out there and literally like for the first year I was mid-pack. And I was like, this is it. This is how you grow. And I keep trying to remind so many guys, like right now we're in an era where social media takes the career that is a driver and makes it seem like, you know, I need to do all of this social stuff. I need to be taking pictures. I need to be looking the part.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it kind of distracts from what really is the substance of what we're trying to do, which is race cars.
Stopwatch doesn't lie, right?
You know, like I joke nowadays that I kind of feel like Sonny Hayes or somebody like that from the F1 movie, because it's like I just want to drive. There's just other dragons to slay. It's not about, you know, having, you know, like the big sponsors or anything like that. It's passion for this stuff, and it's a skill set, right? Like it's something that even whether I have a big sponsor or not, I want to get better every day at driving and competing. And if you can have that mindset, I think you could do what I did, which is kind of come from obscurity to this.
I love that you talk about rental carts because I think it's very much overlooked as like, it's not real racing. It's not real driving. But the reality is, like, in a lot of ways,
depends on where you go, but like,
right. But if you're at any place like here, whatever, that has like decent equipment and like decent competitors, you're also always driving around an issue. Always. Right? Like there's always going to be tire pressures are messed up. You're on tires.
I'll say this much. I've raced in Europe a lot. My engineers, I have great relationships with all my engineers because I adapt to the car. And most of the guys I race against come out and they're like, it's crap here, it's crap here, it's crap here, fix this. And engineers and mechanics get burnt out by that because they're like, especially if you go out and then the times don't improve, you know, like, so for me, I always felt like the best drivers in the world that I looked up to were actually not of this era.
Okay.
I look back at like the 60s, you know, I look at Parnelli Jones, Carroll Shelby, you know, Ken Miles, Jim Clark. Those guys could get in anything.
Yeah.
I mean, Parnelli Jones did the Baja 1000 and IndyCar, like won the Indy 500 and Baja 1000. You know, like those are so different from a discipline perspective that I think we always the debate right now is who's the best driver in the world. Is it Max Verstappen or Kyle Larson?
Yeah.
I have yet to see either of them like sling it through the woods sideways or anything like that. Right. You know, so
you'd have to
and when I was coming up, the argument was always rally drivers are the best drivers in the world, period. Because in rally or in regular racing, you see a corner 1,000 times. And in rally, you see 1,000 corners once.
Yeah.
You know?
And also the consequences of rally driving. There's
super high.
Another level. There's a different mentality.
Exactly.
When the barriers are trees.
Exactly.
Cliffs. Right.
Well, and the surface changes are so much greater than like, I mean, we have surface changes on tarmac.
Yeah, you do.
But not like rally.
Not like rally. I tell people, like, especially if you're doing like, I worked at a rally school. I was a lead instructor there for a while. And even there, when you're doing laps, it changes every lap because you've brushed that dirt off. That's gone. Now you need to find new grip. Yeah. So I've always found that being multifaceted and just getting as much seat time as, like I said, delivering pizza, it's still seat time.
Yeah.
So
what kind of car were you driving when you were delivering pizza?
All right. I started with a Nissan Sentra SER.
Manual?
Yep.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Had a Gretty exhaust on it. I was a JDM hot boy back in the day, guys. Are you kidding me? I had a Honda Civic. I had a SER. I had a 240 SX. I got into
heel
this,
and toe downshifting.
Dude, I got
to
into
every
stuff
red
through
light.
drifting. I got into this stuff through drifting, and of course, I am determined to be unique. So, like, my first drift car was an '89 Toyota Cressida.
Ooh,
which was awesome. Except in 2007-8, finding parts for a Cressida, let alone drift parts, was just impossible.
I'm sorry, what's a Cressida? Is that the longer sedan that had the
big 4-door? Yeah.
Did it have the mirrors up front?
Yep.
Like further forward on the hood?
I put those on because the American ones didn't come with those.
Okay.
But yeah, it's one of those.
Right.
It was before Toyota had Lexus. So it was their big luxury car before they had Lexus. Yeah. And we had manual swapped it and we did a 1J in it and we did a bunch of cool stuff with it. But I ended up giving that car away. It was so frustrating.
Really?
I gave it to a buddy of mine who drifts. I was like, take it, man. I don't want to deal with it anymore. But drifting is what got me to the racetrack.
So you've done drifting. You've done rally driving. You've coached in rally driving.
Yep.
That's a lot of
every type
sideways
of drive.
car control oriented stuff. How has that prepared you? In what way does that translate over to racing GT cars?
So the two things I've noticed, the one is pretty obvious, is when it rains, I'm a badass.
Okay.
I'm a problem. Like for real. Like I like Montreal last year. I think I outqualified my class by like a second in the wet. You know,
Okay.
You know, pole at Spa in the wet. Yeah, like the wet is something I'm very comfortable.
And you
with.
think that's directly because of drifting and rally experience?
I guarantee it. It's just my comfort with the car being sideways.
Yeah.
And still knowing how to find forward momentum.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest thing is a lot of guys can catch it. A lot of guys can keep the car, but can you be comfortable with the car with a little bit of angle on it and also still be finding forward momentum? Now, I'll also grant this. It's not just the rally driving. It's the rental carts.
Really?
The rental carts. You're normally on dog crap tires,
Yep.
right? Half the time they're probably past the wear markers.
Yeah.
And
Even if they're
they
fresh,
understeer like pigs,
Yeah.
you know, like, and then they oversteer, right? Like, so if you can learn to balance that cart at that like 7 degrees of angle or whatever it is that before you start scrubbing speed and find forward momentum, like that's something that will change your ability in everything else you get in because you're so used to something that doesn't have the power to pull itself out.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's similar with rally stuff. I think drifting, you tend to go the other direction, right? Like so much power that you could just do it by touching the gas. But in rally, you're restricted there too, right? Like you can only make about 300 horsepower. So that being said, you really have to focus on how do I get the car to kind of stay moving forward in the most efficient way while having angle and things like that. So I make the corner.
Yeah.
So I would, that's the first thing. The second thing, is probably the fact that, you know, I would say it makes me more comfortable offline.
Okay.
So like making passes, you know, any of that stuff, I would say it definitely is a benefit. The rally stuff, the drifting stuff, you're just so comfortable offline because like if it gets a little loose, if it gets a little squirrely, you know what's coming. You know how to manage that. So I would say those are the biggest benefits that I've gotten from that.
Being honest, a lot of drivers aren't offline that often.
Nope.
Right. And they're not comfortable out there.
No.
Yeah.
No. I've made passes in places that people are like, what? Like why? How?
And it also helps keep a Porsche out of the wall at Road
America and
which we were
Watkins
talking
Glen.
about.
Yeah. Like,
do you have a moment at the Glen as well?
I've got a couple of them. Yeah. Really? And there's video of all of this so we can reference. But Road America, 4 wheels off after the kink.
Yeah.
In Carrera Cup?
Terrifying.
In a Carrera Cup car.
That's the fastest part of the track. That's not the end of the straightaway, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Or
think
coming into 5, is that quicker?
No, because you're braking super well. You're going about
it's
you're
fast.
going about 140, but like before you brake there, but like you're braking so much that you're down to like 45, 50 miles an hour for 5. So
and there's also a lot of runoff as well. It's a lower consequence.
The kink is like turn in with a light lift in 5th gear, you know, which is about 130, 140, and then
any drag brake? No
touching the brake. Whew. Yeah, so like just lift. And then as soon as you feel it set, back on. Because if you don't set the rear, it keeps going, right? Like, so I got a little wide of the apex and then carried it out. And as I was carrying it out, the road disappears really quick to the left side. And there's about 6 feet of grass before the wall. And what's really crazy is if you do the track walk, you see all of these tire marks going into that wall or starting and then going off to the right into the other wall, right? And as I knew I was going in the grass, and this is just my natural reaction, like to it now because of the rally stuff, especially, is like as I knew I was going in the grass into a surface that was guaranteed to be loose, I straighten the wheel up, but I don't do anything with the pedals because that upsets balance, right? Like, and so I just let the car. I thought I was just going to do left sides off, but the moment you do that, it normally sucks you out because like you have no grip. So like it just kept going, and I ended up 4 wheels off, just outside of the curbing, holding the wheel straight and never lifting. And
so
I kind of like forgot about it, you know, like because it was a practice session, and I was just like, yeah, we made it through, you know, we're good.
Yeah.
And then like later that day, Porsche posts a video of the championship leader, Luke Hartog, who apparently was in front of me during the practice session coming through the kink. And then me just like full blast, like dirt everywhere. And they're
terrifying
dude.
moment.
So there's that one. And then there's also like same sort of deal, but this is even crazier. Watkins Glen. I don't know if you guys, if anybody is familiar, last year at Watkins Glen, race 2 of Carrera Cup, in between turn 1 and turn 2, there was about I believe it was a 12 car pileup. Yeah, big car pileup. If you watch the video, I'm in the middle of it, and I somehow managed to come out unscathed and in first place in class. Like I went from 5th to 1st in that melee.
Wow.
And the reason being, like,
that was right at the green flag, right? That wasn't a restart.
no, that was at the green flag.
Yeah.
So that was at the green flag. We get through one. Everybody got through one. And then we spread out 4 wide before we're about to go up the hill. And I saw it coming. I was like, here we go. Here we go. Like, and it, you know,
that's a very like rental cart moment, right?
Yeah,
When you
it's
start
like,
seeing it happen.
and especially because you know the people too. Like you're like, oh, these guys.
Nobody's lifting. Nobody's lifting.
This is gonna go so bad. And sure enough, like right after one, like get a little bit, and then like, you know, like one guy bounces and then he comes swinging back in and starts taking everybody out. And I think most guys, and you watch the video, most of the Carrera Cup drivers either check up or end up in it. And my immediate reaction, you can see it on the data, no lift, or actually I lift for a second as I see it happening, but then I look for a hole, and the only hole was grass to the inside of 2. And I aim it there and I just floor it through there.
Jeez.
And
the inside of 2?
The inside of 2 on the grass. I'm full 4 wheels on the grass. I just go, I'm not getting in this. I'm going over there. And I freaking shoot through the grass and come out, and I'm in first. I'm like, I think I'm 7th overall, and like I've gone from like 19th to 7th, and and I'm all by myself, and I'm like, yes, like let's go. And then I look at my rearview and I notice like half of my class was in that wreck. So I'm like, all right, nice. We're good. We're gonna come out of this solid.
Yeah.
And then we're coming around yellow flag for a couple laps. They got to clean up this. It looked like an IED went off, and
yeah,
like,
it was a mess.
Just like, it was a mess. It was like at least 7 cars were totaled. And I'm getting ready to come to the restart. I'm all amped up. I'm like, yeah, we got this. And my mechanic comes over the radio. He goes, bro, that was sick. Way to dodge all that, but you lost your front splitter.
Oh no.
And I was like, okay. I didn't care. I was like, oh, who cares? It's a piece of plastic. And
all the weight's in the back anyway.
And so I'm like, we're good. I got this. We're gonna win this race. And on the restart, we take off, and I go through one, felt fine, start to go up the hill, and like understeer city. And I'm like, I'm going to hit the wall. Like, and so I come over radio. I'm like, the car's pushing like a pig. He's like, yeah, that splitter's worth about 15% of your front downforce.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, you're going to suffer. And I ended up 4th in that race because, I could not get the car to turn.
How bad was it pushing through like carousel?
Really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad through carousel. The scariest part though was the uphill S's at Watkins, because like you turn in one way and it kind of washes out, and then you try to turn back and it washes to the right side wall, which that's really scary. So yeah, but at the same time, like I think last year I'm almost I don't have these numbers by fact, but I can almost guarantee that I had the least amount of crash damage of anyone on the grid.
Wow.
And that is where the rally and the drift stuff comes from too. It's like I can be in close quarters with people. I can be in a lot of different spaces and keep the car.
And that's important. I mean, if you're a team owner making driver selections or whatever, even like it's a big factor.
Yeah,
right?
it would be if the GT car scene wasn't the culture that it is right now.
Meaning no one cares about crash damage.
Well, that and the fact that there's not a lot of teams hiring drivers.
Right.
You know, so like you're in this deal where like the skill sets that we've learned as pro drivers don't always translate to the current setup in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, like as a team or as a business or anything like that. You know, it's not always beneficial to win.
Yeah.
Right now, but it is, you know, like, so if it was F1, yeah, I'm sure James Vowles would love me, you know, because I'm not costing him a ton of money. But at the same time, you know, like you still want to be quick. And so I think there, especially in GT cars and sports cars right now, there's still a balance trying to be found, you know, and I think a lot of that also stems from the fact that right now you can total a cup car and walk away. No scratches, no nothing. Like you can
from a safety standpoint.
From a safety standpoint,
absolutely.
yeah. Like I think that kind of plays into the approach as well. It's like, and a lot of these customer racing teams make money off you crashing.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
you know, they that's more work, and they can mark it up. However, because like, where are you going to go to get this fixed? You know, like so. It just depends, but yeah, for me, it's less about the teams appreciating it and more about what I show to the world, especially as being one of the first black men to do this. Because I think in a lot of sports, in a lot of situations, we're either pandered to or expected to be a novelty. And my approach has always been same thing Tiger Woods did. Same thing, Michael Jordan, those sort of guys who come in and it's like, let the action speak louder than the words. Yeah. You know, like, and the right things will happen.
Who were your inspirations when you're getting started in this? Because again, there aren't a lot of examples. There's Willie Ribbs. Like I'm trying to think of other.
Willie T. Ribbs. I mean, that's the thing is like, as a young black man, I had no idea who these people were.
Yeah.
Like it is, Willie T. Ribbs is not famous in the black community. Like you would think he would be.
Yeah.
You know, Antron Brown is not famous in the black community like you think he would be. Like some of these guys who like Lewis Hamilton, before Drive to Survive, black people didn't know that there was a black F1 driver.
Yeah.
You know,
is that because he was out of the UK?
Yeah. I think that's a lot of it. I think it's also too, you know, I grew up in a town called Upper Marlboro, Maryland. And my dad's side, which is my black side, they were, we can trace it back to slavery in that town, and they were sold, and then they became sharecroppers, and then we owned a bunch of land in town that actually butted up to a racetrack. Like it was called Marlboro Speedway. It was where Carroll Shelby, Roger Penske, all these guys would go race Trans Am and all that other stuff back in the day. And my family, my dad tells stories of like hearing the cars, but being told you can't go over there because they'll hang you by your ankles.
No kidding.
So in the black community too, it's like,
and this was when?
This is 60s, 70s. Yeah. So like, in the black community, a lot of times too, what you have is like the lack of support doesn't come from the fact that they don't want to. It comes from the fact that they're looking at it as something we don't do.
Yeah, it's not your thing.
Yeah, it's not our thing, you know. And so that part definitely has shaped the way I go about things and the way I like to approach things and present myself. You know, like I happen to know I can be very entertaining and very fun and all that kind of stuff. But the reality for me is like I know what I represent, and I know how important it is for, you know, anybody coming behind me to feel like they can be fun, to feel like they can have the freedom to be goofy and still be taken seriously, you know, things like that.
Do you like having that mantle, or do you like, before you said, I just want to drive?
Yeah, I do just want to drive, man. It's a little frustrating. Don't get me wrong. But you know, just like I didn't choose to be born this way. Like, it's like, the biggest, I think, challenges and effects we can have on this life are the things that maybe aren't as comfortable, you know, and they're kind of thrust upon us instead of, you know, things we pursue. So, I like I said, I just wanted to drive. I never once thought about my race as a driver until I got to this level. And as I I will say I did notice anytime I'd see another, like, especially black person at a racetrack, I'd be like, hey, like, but at the same time, yeah, like for me, it's always been be a great driver and the rest will solve itself, like, and I love racing for that fact, right? Like racing is raceless, genderless, ageless.
Yeah.
The helmet hides everything and the car doesn't know how old, what color, it doesn't know any of that stuff. So racing actually has one of the biggest opportunities in all of sports to be the people's sport.
The great equalizer.
Like the great equalizer.
Yeah.
So for me, that's something I'm always trying to show too, is that like, it is accessible as long as you are stubborn enough,
Yeah.
Was there a moment in your career where you, like an aha moment where you were like, oh, I can do this. I can figure out how to get to that level, because you're starting in rental cars. It's not like you have a dad that was a driver. Like,
I'll be honest that like the first 5 years, like the rental carts and all that stuff was blind ignorance.
Yeah.
I really thought like Red Bull was going to call at some point or something, like,
of
I'm
course.
gonna do something. I'm going to do something.
Sound like a driver.
Yeah. Like, and they're going to call. I think the aha moment was realizing that I wanted a life and career in motorsports. And it didn't actually matter that much that I wasn't a driver right then.
Okay.
What mattered was, why do I want to be a driver?
Yeah.
What drove me, or quote unquote, to do this, to try and be this when no one's from my background's ever done it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was all about understanding that what I want is to be in a car as much as possible doing the thing. I want to be driving and all of that. So if I'm honest, when I had that aha moment, I then resigned myself to being a coach and an instructor. I was ready to live that life and I was happy. Like, I'll be really honest. Like, I was very happy with that decision in the sense of like, because I'll also say, I thought being an instructor was going to take having a torrid racing career and then get to go coach people how to do it.
Yeah.
But I had so much skill and knowledge from karting and all of the things I had done in that space that I was fairly advanced as an instructor the moment I showed up because I had a ton of seat time.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, right? Like so many of the guys I've coached with or worked with, a lot of them, if they didn't come from karting, I mean, their level of seat time is extremely low in comparison to the guys who come from that, Now, sim racing is changing that a bit for sure. I would argue that big time. But yeah, so like for me, it's always been trying to maximize the how do I say this? Maximize my resources.
Yeah.
And so seat time was what I could get. All right, maximize it,
Did you have any early advocates, companies, individuals that sort of got behind you, or was it all you up until a certain level?
So there were a couple like rental cart teams that I got recruited to. There was some little stuff like that, but it was all me. And then I just, that aha moment where I was like, all right, I just want to live this every day. That's when I was like, all right, I'm going to be an instructor. I want to be an instructor. I want to be an instructor. And I put my mind to it. And it took a little bit of time, but ended up instructing in Formula 3 cars, of all things, at Sonoma, back when it was Sim Raceway, and that kind of opened the world up to me. But I still I was there for 3 years. Then I went to the rally school for 3 years. And that whole 6 years, I was like, I'm never going to get to race. And I was okay with it.
Yeah.
I was totally fine with it. I actually, at times, and you'll see this at a lot of racing schools, is the guys who aren't getting to race will sometimes justify how much better they are than the guys who are getting to race.
Of course.
Because they're like, I mean, they've got the money.
Right.
Like, so like, I used to say all that crap, but the reality is like, and I was telling somebody this earlier, I wasn't ready back then. And I think looking back on it, I wouldn't have been ready mentally in my mid-20s for what I am doing now. You know,
How'd you transition over from coaching into
racing?
Dude, yeah.
That's a great story. So, like I said, 6 years of coaching with no prospects, nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Not even rental karting anymore. Like I'm just kind of doing it. Right. Yeah. And I'm working at the rally school as the lead instructor. This is late 2020, COVID. Right. So I'm the only guy willing to work. You know, like I'm the only instructor willing to get in cars with people because I'm like, we're gonna figure it out, bro. If I get sick, I get sick. Whatever, you know, like we'll figure it out. I'm healthy. Like, but in that, I'm running a class of like 8 students by myself. I'm cooking lunch. I'm instructing the class. I'm running the water truck. I'm running the tractor. I'm wrenching on the cars, everything to keep this class running all day. And I guess I just didn't notice that people were noticing, you know, and 2 of my students, you know, like Jordan, like when can we come watch you race? And I was like, that's a good one, guys. That's real good. You know, that's cute. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I don't have the money to race. I don't, you know, and they're like, what's racing costs? And I'm like, oh,
what's racing costs?
Right. Let's take a deep breath. I like you guys.
Take a seat.
We're not gonna.
What's the moonway?
Yeah, I'm like, we're not gonna. You know, I like you guys. We're gonna take it slow.
Let's
here,
stay
right?
friends.
Like, yeah, right. Exactly. Let's stay friends. And we get to talking, and like they're like, let's do lunch next week. And I'm all right. That's fine. You know, go to do lunch, and they start asking more questions. They're like, what series are the best? Like, what does a race car cost? That one was, I did the same thing there. They're like, what's a new race? Because I was trying to do Grid Life Touring Cup, honestly, like, because like I had pulled a old rally car out of a field at the rally school. It was an Integra. I had spruced it up. It had a rally cage and all this other stuff in it. So I was like, all right, it's caged, everything. Let's go. Threw a rod, second 15-minute race of Grid Life Touring Cup, puked oil on the track, and that was it. And they were like, are you going to get another car? I was like, yeah. And then they were like, those look like used kind of crappy cars. And I'm like, they are, because that's what I can afford. Like, you know, like that's what I can afford, you know? And I was like, you know, what would really help me, guys, is if you gave me like 10 grand so I could put it, you know, I could get a new motor. I could do something. Right. And they were like, I don't like that. I was like, all right, well, there's another sponsorship. And they're like, what's a new race car cost? I like that. And I'm like, we're friends. Like, let's not, I like you guys. And I'm like, no, tell us. So we go down that rabbit hole of how much GT cars cost and TC cars and that sort of stuff. And they're like, I think we should dream this big. And I'm like, wow. Okay. Like, and I go home. 2 days later, they're like, we're doing it.
Whoa.
And I'm like, what are we talking about here? And they're like, we're doing Sprint Challenge.
No kidding.
And we just bought a GT4 straight from the dealership. They called, they apparently called right after our lunch, and they were like, line one up, send it, you know? And I found out later, these people they're my biggest champions. They're the people who gave me my opportunity. The Trabo family, they're very successful in the businesses they do. I think it's commercial real estate and oil and things like that. And they were like, Jordan, we just want to see what you can do, because like you were running that whole rally school by yourself. Wow. And you were doing an amazing job. What if you had all the resources?
Yeah.
What's the dream? And I said, I want to race GT cars in Europe. And they're like, well, how do we get there? And that's how we got into this stuff. And they gave me 3 years of runway.
Oh, wow.
3 years of runway. Never had to run another sponsor on the car. Never had to do it. Like, I mean,
wow.
Bills. Like they gave me a salary. Like they wanted to treat it like a sport too. They wanted to, and I think they felt the same way a lot of people do, is they get burnt out by the customer transactional nature of how teams want to operate and things like that, you know. But they gave me 3 years of runway, and I took it and ran. So we did Sprint Challenge year 1, and midway through the season, I wasn't doing as good as I thought I should. You know, I was top 5ing, but that was the best I could do. And I'm like, I had been sitting here as an instructor coaching some of the guys I'm racing against in like rally stuff or whatever. Yeah. And they're out there beating me, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I behind my sponsor's back, I went and found iZone Performance in the UK, which is a driver training program that I would equate to like the University of Alabama of like like car driving, like race car stuff. Like it's such an intense little environment with these guys that know what they're doing. They get people to F1 and all types of other places. So I was like, I want to go there, and I was going to pay for it out of pocket. My sponsors heard and put me on a flight to England the next day.
Wow.
And had me there for 2 weeks. I came back and I swept the weekend at Indianapolis.
No way.
And podiumed every race from then on the rest of the season. And that kind of opened up the door, and they were like, all right, let's go to Europe. And literally the next year I'm in Europe racing DTM Trophy. Jeez. And it just happened so fast that looking back, there's certain things I wish I had tried to do more of or better at, but you know, you only get these opportunities. I mean, most people that hear my story are like, how?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Including the guy who owns iZone. He was like, Jordan, you're like a magician. I don't know. But he also, he understands he flies me into England to come train and things like that now because I motivate his other guys. I come in and I'm here to work. Like, you know, we're in an environment of super privileged individuals, right? Yeah. These are kids who get to race cars.
Yeah.
You know, at 17, 18 years old, 15 years old, you know, and they, you know, watching them go to train, it's like herding cats. It's like he's like the principal and they're like middle schoolers, you know, like they don't want to work at all. And I come in and I'm just like, I just want to work, bro. Like I could be a janitor at a church. I could be delivering pizza. I could be doing a lot of the other things. So for me, it's that too. It's the fact that I can show people that this sport is worth loving in the right ways, you know? So that's how I got there. And then from there, it's just kind of, they gave me 3 years runway like they promised. And then they were kind of burnt up by it. And the last 2 years I've been bootstrapping it. Like, and with real sponsors, like real companies and stuff like that. Not like they weren't real, but they were kind of like I call them my godparents because they put me in the situation that my own family couldn't, you know, and that's how most racers get there, right? Like is their family puts them in that place, at least for a little bit to show who they are. Yeah.
So they were like your friends and family fund.
Yeah, exactly. And I still talk to them to this day, you know, like it's, I can't fathom the amount of money they've spent on me, and I can't ever thank them enough either. But the ways that they've always wanted me to thank them is just keep doing it, keep being successful at it, keep showing people that it shouldn't take some super wealthy family to see your abilities and skills to get there, you know, like, and so that's part of what I've always tried to preach too, is like, you know, you never know how it's going to happen either. Like I left out something in this story. While they were at that rally school for that 2-day school, my main sponsor rolled a rally car on my watch.
Oh no.
Yeah. In a spot that is not supposed to happen. And I just remember he's at the end of the runway. We're practicing Scandi flicks, right? Yeah. And he throws it one way and then back the other, and it just goes. It tumbles to its wheels, right? God. One full roll. And I'm like, oh, I sprint down the runway. I get to him, and he's like out of the car and like kind of hands on his knees. And he's like, and I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. My balls just hurt. And I'm like, oh, the substrap got you when you went over. It yanked you one way. Yeah. Oh. So, and then he like caught his breath, and he looks at the car, and the roof's caved in, but it's got a cage, so it's okay, and it's running. It's still right. It's still running, and I'm like, all right. I get him in the truck, take him back to go get him checked out, and I drive the car all messed up back to the shop. And when I get out, he's like there, and he's like, how much is this going to cost me? Right. And I don't know this guy from Adam at the time. And he's like, he's sitting there. He's like, what's this like? He's like $100,000. Because we tell people at the beginning of the class, like if you rolled the car, you're responsible for the entire value of the car. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right?
What were you guys running? Like?
It was an old 4-door GC Impreza that had been like swapped and caged and stuff. Right. But he goes, what's this going to be like? $100,000, $150,000. I go, I think the whole car was like 12 grand. And he goes, really? He goes, do you guys take cash? And I was like, yeah, man, of course we take it. And he was like, I want to do it again. He was like, you guys have another one?
Yeah, can we roll another car?
He's like, I don't have a scratch on me. I rolled a car at 40 miles an hour and I don't have a scratch on me. He's like, can I buy one? That's when I learned. I was like, these guys are different. But they saw it. They saw it the way that I think, and they wanted to see it that way. That was the other thing, is they were kind of new to motorsports. They had gotten into it through Drive to Survive and things like that. Yeah. And they wanted to see the sport like we see the NFL, like we see the NBA, like where it's, potentially like wealthy people or corporations that own the teams and it's a sport. Mm-hmm. We draft drivers, we get pit crews, we put it together and then we race.
Yeah. Monetize the whole thing.
Yeah.
Make it a
and
business.
once they learned that it was a lot of stuff in sports cars, at least to get to a certain level, is just customer racing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
And that you're playing this kind of game. I think for them and a lot of business people, it just didn't make as much sense.
Mm-hmm.
They even at times had talks with me about like, could you do something else, like with your life, like, because this is not a very sound business decision all the way around, but, and I told them, I was like, I can't, for two reasons. One is I've gone so far down this road that this is all I'm educated to do, and the other one is like, if I quit, it represents something so much bigger and different than if someone who's upper middle class white guy quits or just kind of dabbles in and out of it or something like that. So I knew that there were a lot of people I needed to stay in it for that weren't just, and funny enough is like, I thought I was staying in it for them. But I think they all kind of showed me that I was staying in it for me, and meaning like they wanted me there, and that was something I had to wrap my mind around, because, you go from, instructor, mechanic, driving the water truck, all that kind of stuff to like overnight, like pro race car driver, it can kind of feel like winning the lottery, but I always compare it to being drafted to the NFL. It's like, it's the dream, but now you got to play against the best freaking players in the world and they want to take your head off.
Yeah.
And so I always remind other guys too, when they're getting really deep down this social media road and all that stuff, and they're trying to become a racer. I'm like, focus on being good.
Right.
Because you can get down this rabbit hole really quick of.
Well, you think about anyone at an elite level, and usually they got there by winning everything.
Yeah.
And I've never been in the position, but I'm always curious about what it does to your mentality when you're like, I'm the dude, right? I win everything.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, you might not even be top 10.
Oh, that was DTM Trophy in a nutshell.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How do you deal
I had
with
gone
that?
from like podiuming the whole second half of a season to struggling to get points.
Yeah.
And doing it against, I'm 33, 34, something like that. And these kids are 17, 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely tough. But at the same time, similar to like kind of how Brad Pitt played it in F1, it's like you start to find your niches. You start to find things that you can do better than them because they just haven't learned it yet.
Okay.
Or things like that.
Driving on the grass.
Yeah, like I'm a big proponent of like, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that was the other thing, is like, I think a lot of what you see with younger kids and people coming into the sport is like, when you're used to winning and then all of a sudden you're not, the thought is, all right, I'm done, or time to quit, or I don't like this anymore. I think, people like myself bring a grittiness that is like, like I grew up playing football, lacrosse, baseball, basketball, that sort of stuff is like, you'd be down 20, 30 points. Yeah. We're still in this.
Yeah.
We're still in this. And you don't stop. And so that's kind of what I've learned I bring to the table. And that's the one advantage I have, is like when shit kicks off, when it turns into a melee and everybody's crashing into each other, that's when I click in and I can really be who I want to be. So it's kind of funky though being in this sport because so much of it is perfection is rewarded in a sense, right? Like if you can pole it and then lead every lap and everything, like, oh man, great race.
Yeah.
To me, that's pretty boring race. You know, like even as a driver, like it's like the reason you like it is because it's stress free, right? It's not because you like the racing. It's like,
and it's still not stress free,
No,
right? You're thinking
no,
about
it's like
gaps
shooting
and
free
you hope I
throws.
don't have a mechanic
shooting
anymore.
free throws. You're just like, like every corner. I just like you can feel like how bad that last one was because you're like catching me. Like, catching me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think for me, the grittiness and some of the other things I brought from other sports too is something you don't see in racing a lot. That's why Lewis was so great.
Yeah.
I really believe that. I really believe that his skill set, obviously, next level. But I think even with between him and Max in the same car, I think, yeah, over a lap, maybe over a couple races, you take Max. But over a season, Lewis is going to find ways to outwork you and outlast you and things like that. I think Max has a grittiness too because he had an abusive father. Just straight up.
Yeah.
But like,
Oh yeah.
but
I read his book and was like, huh, not what I expected.
Yeah.
Or it was a biography.
Not what
of-
I expected, but at the same time, I can relate. Like my dad was definitely very tough, even though he was not into racing or anything like that.
It's
you
a
know?
mentality. And I think
Yeah.
regardless of whether you think Lewis or Max is better, like one thing that they both share very much is the fact that they're out there when it's raining. They're out there when it's cold. Like
Max
they're just
is
like
gritty as heck, man.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, he puts on even when he has a crap car, you know, like, and that takes, so many guys I've met, especially even coming out of karting, they're so used to perfect equipment every time they get in that they don't know what to do when it's not there.
Totally.
So yeah, for me, I'm trying to change the culture of the sport by presenting it in a way that it's always been. Actually, like Carroll Shelby, Ken Miles, those guys they adapted to things. Like you see some of those vintage cars now, they are hot garbage and in the way they operate and all that stuff. But
even the radio comes from. I mean, I think Lewis and Max both have that dog in them.
Absolutely.
Right, where like whatever car is in front of them, they'll say this is what's wrong.
Yep.
And then they'll just deal with it.
Yep.
And then like get to work. Where you hear other drivers just constantly complaining or constantly worried about.
Well, even this
whatever.
year, everyone except Lewis has been complaining about Lewis's Ferrari.
Yeah.
He's been very keen on the fact that like
just every press. He's just like always.
let me not rock the boat, but B too is like. If you really fancy yourself as one of the greatest drivers or one of the greatest at anything, it's the poor farmer that blames his tools. And that being said, it's like, if I'm not making it happen, I got to look in the mirror first,
and also you're going to make a bad situation worse if you start blaming your engineers.
Exactly. And that's the behavior of let's say privilege, like that. Elitist
or inexperience
is like, it's got to be something not me, and I've been there. I remember blaming a lot of things in my first season before I went to iZone. One thing what changed in me at iZone was not just the training. It was like the owner of the school was like, you're driving like an instructor, which means you're driving at 85% perfect lines, perfect everything, but it's 85%. Like you're not going as fast as the car. Like you're not even trying to come close to the edge.
Yeah.
And that's why people are beating you. The moment I clicked back into like rental cart Jordan, as I call it, it was just like all of a sudden, like we're way up the road.
Wow.
Just
the mentality shift.
It's the mentality shift of like understanding like you don't have to be perfect and you don't and that, this is about like every other sport, it's about failing. Failing too is like, like the best athletes in the world, normally their stats say they do well about 30% of the time. Like baseball, bat 300, Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, I think he, his probably shooting percentage is like 30 to 40% somewhere in there. Like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen right now, like, these guys aren't winning all the time.
Yeah.
No.
And you don't think it tears them up. It tears them up every time they don't win.
Yeah.
You know, so it is about understanding the failures and digging into
Russ Bentley just put an article up on our logbook, and one of the quotes was from Federer, and he was talking about he only wins 54% of the games.
Exactly.
So,
and that's impressive. That is legendary right there. More than 50% of the time you're winning. Any pro athlete I know, like, I mean, you can look at the stat. I don't know if Tom Brady has a winning average. I don't know if like a lot of these guys don't, like, you know, but that's how you get there.
Yeah.
Like you watch Last Dance, the first 2 episodes are about the Detroit Pistons beating the crap out of the Bulls.
Yeah.
And them not knowing how to figure it out, you know, but like you just, you know, like you keep at it and you keep doing it. And you also, if you have that gritty, like I'm not going away mentality.
That's
the big thing I'm big on is like,
I'm
not going away. And for people who are trying to get into racing, it's like, you have to have a with or without you mentality. I'm doing this with or without sponsorship, with or without like anybody's approval. I'm going because otherwise, if you don't have money and privilege and time and all these other things, it's not going to work.
Well, nobody cares as much as you do.
Right? There it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
There's a quote. It's Ray Lewis.
Oh, okay.
Who was like such an inspirational speaker and an athlete and whatever.
I'm from Maryland, so
that's
like,
what made me think of it. As I was doing research, I'm like, oh, Maryland, and I was thinking about the Ravens, and I had forgotten that there was a quote in a documentary about him that he says where he's like, I know that I'm willing to do more than you're willing to do to win, and it's just like, holy fuck, like that right there is like, that to me is such a beautiful mentality with any sport or any work problem or whatever. It's just like, I can outwork you.
Yeah.
If I'm not more
I can outwork anybody. Now I'll say this, like in racing, your circumstances are still a big factor. Like I could outwork, I know for a fact I could outwork pretty much anybody in my industry, but that's not going to get me to F1. Right. But it will get me further than anybody that hasn't come from it that I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of and it gets me further than a lot of guys who have a lot of privilege, because like you said, I know I'll outwork. I mean, I know I'll outwork people to the level of, I have a key to iZone because of how much I would be in there working. The owner, he came and like, he's like, I had keys made up for you.
Wow.
Like, cause like you're going to be, and I would be in there at 11, 12, 2 a.m. in there just grinding. Yeah. Because what else am I going to do? Like, also, I don't have the privilege of going home to a 7-bedroom house and a maid and all these other things that a lot of these kids I'm racing against do. They're comfy.
Yeah.
My comfort is knowing that I get to go right back in the sim and put more work in and potentially make these kids feel like they're not good enough.
Right. So, you know, the whole week leading up to a race.
Yeah.
The race, the post-race. Is there a moment or an experience that does it for you that keeps you, like, is there a thing that you experience that makes you love motorsports?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say, you know, I think on the surface, it's the people on the surface. And just like, you know, you get used to your community, your tribe in that sense.
Yeah.
But I would say underneath it really is that, like I said before, it's like that knowledge that I could be a janitor at a church or a school, or I could be, there's so many other things I could have ended up doing that I wouldn't have been nearly as jazzed about or happy to be there. Or, you know, so many people are hot. Like Shaq has a quote, like everybody thinks he's so talented and he outworked everybody. I know people in my hometown that are way harder working than me. I'm just blessed enough to be able to, and harder working at something that they don't like to do.
Yeah.
So it is my obligation, because I get to do something I'm passionate about, to be this way. You know?
When do you feel that the biggest? Is it putting the helmet on? Is it at the checkered flag, at the green flag? It's normally somewhere midway through the weekend when I'm talking to someone else I race with that doesn't get it. Okay.
Normally, like I'll give you an example. Luke Hartog won the championship in Carrera Cup last year.
Yeah.
First weekend at Sebring, he wins the first race. And I probably congratulated him like 3 or 4 different times, like that afternoon, like after the race. And the 3rd or 4th time, he stops me and he's like, mate, why are you congratulating? Why are you so happy for me? Why aren't you focused on your own results? Because I had a shit day. I had gotten punted in lap 1, and it was a rough day. And I go, I told him the same thing I tell you guys. I was like, I could be a janitor. I could be delivering pizza. I could be doing a lot of other things that aren't racing Carrera Cup at Sebring during the 12-hour weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of like was like a deer in headlights. He was like, whoa, like I thought you were going to say, I don't want to think about my results or something like that, you know? Yeah. And it's like, no, man, this is a privilege. We are all so privileged. Granted, yeah, some of us have worked really hard to get here, but we are all so privileged. So like for me, when I have those realizations on those weekends of like, because, you know, everybody gets in their feelings, including myself, about trying to win and things like that. You know, it's like when you have those realizations, you're like, man, this is it. And it's also that aha moment of like 10-year-old me would think I'm so cool.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm so proud of in a lot of ways. It's like, I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, would 10-year-old me think what I'm doing is what we were supposed to be doing? And like, I think 10-year-old me would be like, race car? How?
And there's a lot of 10-year-old yous out there right now that are seeing you.
Yeah, man. That's crazy. I never thought about that. I'm just, you know, I'm just trying to be a good example to myself, honestly. But for real, like it's one of those deals where you do start to realize how much kids and people like that are looking up to you. And that's another reason why I'm like, I'm ready to, I don't want to stop what I'm doing, you know? But I'm also not as like obsessed with like trying to get to F1 or trying to do some of the things that like, you know, do they move the needle? Maybe. But for me, like what moves the needle is seeing this culture shift completely, you know, like I don't like the fact that there's interviews out there with like Lewis Hamilton where he very clearly and factually states that he doesn't think anyone from his level of background can get to F1 anymore.
Yeah.
Just because of karting costs this much and all this, you know, we have to look at our sport very deeply. And I think,
so what's the answer then? Is it more spec series?
I think there's a few things out there that are showing what's possible. Prodigy League is a really good example of something that I think they've got some of the right ideas.
Is that starts in the sim?
Yeah, it starts in the sim. Then if you do well enough, then you get to do a shootout, and then the shootout kind of turns into like an NFL combine where their teams are looking at you and they'll draft you. Their issue is similar to like sports. Every form of sports car's issue right now, which is media and marketing. And the fact that like, I think racing would really benefit from unifying, meaning F1 and NASCAR and IndyCar and all of these, not saying they all have to be under one umbrella, but we got to stop looking at these disciplines as like whole different animals.
Well, even that's a great point. But thinking about like GT cars, how many cars can run in 7 different series, but they don't because they're all slightly different enough.
Right.
And, that's a really good point.
So I think there's that. I think on the sports car side, if you really want to like make change, one of the biggest things that's missing right now is a single driver series, a single driver sprint GT series. The only one on the planet that I know of is
GT America,
is DTM. GT America, VP Challenge, those are kind of in that route. They are single driver and stuff, but they're more meant as development series. I'm more speaking on the top level of GT racing should be something like DTM.
Yeah,
because that would require it to be a career and a job.
So not a feeder series, not a
feeder
GRs,
series. No, none of those.
MX5.
None of the spec series. The spec series all make sense. That's how you build talent, how you find grassroots talent, all of that. But at the high level, there's nothing for pro drivers to sink their teeth into that isn't also bringing a rich guy with them.
What if teams that had multiple cars?
Yep.
if there was some sort of incentive by the organization for them to put a
fast guy in the car.
Yes, not just a pay driver, but it's like
you get a bigger. I mean, that's one of the clearest answers right there. Is single driver for one is a big one, but the real big answer is NASCAR. What NASCAR does, which is they prioritize fans.
Yeah.
Which means the fans then pay the bills.
Right.
And so therefore the prize money at every NASCAR race the prize pots are huge. Like I think the smallest prize pot for a cup race is somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 million. And that's split between the 30 teams or whatever, the 30 cars on track or 35 cars, whatever.
Yeah.
But that makes it, I mean, that means in 30th place, you're walking away with 20, 30 grand for the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's subsidizing something.
So it subsidizes some part of it,
Yeah.
right? Like, because the prize money is there. Sports cars has been devoid of prize money probably since the 90s.
Do you think there'd be more fans if it was a little bit more unified and consolidated?
I think if it was a little more unified, just as drivers and as teams, like if they didn't act so like, you know, we do this and that's why we're cool and
hoity-toity,
you know, and NASCAR's like, well, we do this and we'll beat you up. We don't care, you know, like doesn't matter, you know, like everybody's always got a reason why they're right or why, you know. Instead, if we looked at it as, you know, we're all trying to do this sport that it treats us all the same way.
Yeah.
It burns through all of our wallets. It burns through all of our time, all of our everything, because it's what we love to do. You know, then I think we could see a bit more like universal sponsorship and universal like corporate engagement and things like that. But right now NASCAR kills it because they prioritize the fans and the corporations that support it, and they give the teams what they make.
You can see it in their sponsors,
you can
right?
See it.
Not every sponsor, but so many of the sponsors on the cars are major brands that you know.
Yeah.
Versus these obscure, which F1's moving away from that. But for years, F1, you'd see all these emblems. You're like, obscure, I don't know what the hell they
and then you look at like GT cars, and it's even
I was going to say, like IMSA is like, who are these people?
What the heck is that company? And what
I
do
always
they do,
assume it's the company that the driver owns.
Yeah, normally it's that, or it's the company his dad owns,
right?
Or it's the company his dad's buddy owns, or something like that,
right?
For sure.
Well, it's because they're not prioritizing viewership and fans and experience and giving like eyeballs to these companies.
Yep, exactly. It's one of those deals where the corporations look at it and they're like, well, what do we get out of it?
Well, also one of the challenges,
if they're not there for the VIP experience, then they're not going to sign up.
Yeah. But something that, you know, we've had a few guests touch on is like motorsports is beautiful, but it's also unique in that you are inside of a bubble with a helmet on. It's so hard to learn about the person and to personify this thing and create those.
Technically, yes, but that's even kind of BS. I mean, NASCAR once again proves you wrong. They put 4 freaking cameras in that car, and they have live feeds on every single driver. You can listen to your driver's radio during the race. You can listen to other drivers' radios during the race.
Right,
like
that's true. The accessibility.
That accessibility, big. The other thing they do is they prioritize it as a sport. They stopped caring about the cars being as fast as they could be. They stopped caring about like the technology being as far ahead as we could, because only the rich teams can afford that.
Yeah.
They brought it back to, how do we make the equipment even?
Yeah. They do an excellent job at that.
How do we make the equipment even? And then how do we then look at the sporting regulations so that everything is fair? So like in NASCAR, there's no walls in the garages. And you get randomly assigned a stall.
Okay.
That means no one's going to cheat because everyone can see each other.
Yeah.
You're right next to, you know, so like no walls in the garage.
It's NASCAR, so people are still cheating.
Oh, they're definitely still cheating, but that's their way of like trying to like really working against it. Like, whereas you look at like I was at WEC last weekend.
Oh, cool.
And
where was WEC? At the Glen? No.
At COTA.
At COTA, right.
Yeah,
right,
it was Lone Star Le Mans. I was at WEC, and what was interesting to me was I'm a driver. I know a lot of these people. I still had to pay to get paddock access.
Yeah.
Over $100. And then you can't see any cars. They had those false walls up in front of everything. And unless you had 4 other passes to get a tour of one of them, you couldn't engage with it. So I think fans is always the answer.
That was one thing. So I just got back from the Nürburgring.
Yeah.
And meeting with a couple teams there.
Yeah.
And
look at this guy.
It was awesome.
Casually,
it was
at the Nürburgring. I'm not even going to
awesome.
mention that I drove it.
That was there for
too,
yeah.
You know?
Did you drive the Nürburgring?
I did.
Really?
We're not talking about this though.
Oh,
we're talking
okay.
about
We're
Jordan.
talking
sorry,
about,
no,
we're
we're
talking
talking-
about, hold on. All right.
So I was there for the NLS series. It was the 6 hour. So the 6 hour race,
Which is 4 laps?
yeah, it's like
right, exactly.
yeah, four laps, unless there's a safety car, that's 2 laps.
Yeah.
But the thing that I noticed right off the bat was the access.
Yeah.
Like every one of the team garage, like I was very nervous about like walking into
in,
Falcon's garage or
Yeah.
Black Falcon's garage or Manti's garage. And it
Understandably.
was completely open.
Oh,
the
yeah.
fans were all the way around the car while they're prepping it.
Yep.
Right? Like in the garage, I went
Yeah.
over and just stared at the data, looking at their screens.
Yep.
And it was like, this would never happen in a million years in the United States.
Exactly. Well, except in NASCAR.
Except in NASCAR.
Except in NASCAR. They open it up to that. I mean, that was the other thing I was going to talk about is data. In NASCAR, all data is public
Like shared, really.
Oh.
and live. Like, so they can look at, like, during the race, if you're on the 22 team and you want to know what the 48's doing into that next corner, you can
look.
watch his throttle trace, you can watch his brake trace,
No
and you
kidding.
can literally
Wow.
go to your driver and be like, he's braking 10 feet later than you here, and he's releasing the brake there. You
Wow.
know, like, so, but that's
the
how you
stuff
make
that
it
makes
fair.
a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it
And
makes
that
a
helps
difference.
smaller teams, I would imagine, as well, because you get the
Exactly.
data of, you know,
Exactly.
these teams with 4 cars.
That and the organization, NASCAR, like, I have some gripes with them, obviously, as everybody does. But at the same time, one of the things they are very smart about is with that prize money, they backfill, which means they don't put a premium on they put a little bit of a premium on the top 3, but outside of that, they split the money up pretty evenly all the way up to 30th place or 35th place, something like that.
Yeah.
Which allows the smaller teams, even if you're not having a good weekend, to still be a business and still have a team that gets to come to the next weekend.
Yeah.
And I've done oval track racing way back, and I can tell you, it's a different mentality. The promoters, the team owners, everyone, they care about cars on track, not how much money's in their pocket, not anything, but is it good racing and how many cars can we put on track? Can we get 25, 30, 40 cars on track? Because that looks good.
Yeah.
That looks good on TV. That looks good to the crowd, everything. I've been in this, I was in a series once where halfway through the season, I could not afford my bills. And I owed the series probably like $5,000. And I was just not going to show up. I was like, I'm just not going to show up, man. Like, I'm not trying to pay these bills. Like, I don't got it. And literally, like, you know, day or two before the race weekend, I've got the president of the series on the phone calling me, and he's like, I need you to show up. He's like, don't worry about your bills. Don't worry about any of that stuff. I need 25 cars on that grid. I'll pay you to come be here.
Wow.
You know, like, and
you're like, I'll think about it.
right.
Well, how much is it worth?
Yeah, right. You know, like, my gas is this much, you know, like, so it's one of those deals where, like, their mentality is so different.
Yeah.
Like, promoters, like, same thing with the teams. It's like, I had multiple occasions where, like, my car shat the bed or something, like, just wasn't working. And you would have 2, 3 other teams come up and be like, you can use our spare. You can use our spare.
No kidding.
Because they want to beat you. It's like sports. They want to beat the best.
They want someone to race.
Yeah. You know, and a lot of times they think their car's better than yours anyway. So, like, try mine. You know, try mine. You'll see. You know, like, and so it's just it's a different mentality. And I think if we could bring a bit more of that into sports cars and into Formula cars, I mean, you have a really awesome showroom full of race cars back there. They sit 90% of the time. How fair is that to our sport? And I'm not saying the guys who own them shouldn't be driving them all the time. They should. That's you freaking earned it. But in NASCAR, if they're not driving it, they're going to get somebody to drive it. They're going to keep it, keep it going. They want the sport. They care about the sport.
Yeah.
Not just their ego and whether or not they're the race car driver today.
Yeah. That's true. The cars do have a life that exists beyond the driver.
Yeah.
Like,
teams
Aaron
will-
Jones is running 43, which I think it's weird that NASCAR doesn't retire numbers.
Right.
Like Austin Dillon is running Dale's
3.
number, right? Like, and I don't understand it well enough, but I'm like, man, I feel like those should be up. Those should be retired numbers.
You see those guys doing stuff like somebody pops a motor. Yeah, use ours. You know, like in NASCAR, technically that's how they make it cheap, even if you're not borrowing. Like, I've talked with Xfinity teams and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna run Watkins Glen. Now it's this much with our motor, or we could lease a Hendrick motor and it's gonna be this much.
Oh, interesting.
You know, and then we have a much better shot at podium.
Which that whole system seems so much more democratic.
It is.
Right. And just like
even the sponsorship stuff is more democratic. Sponsors go to NASCAR for the most, except the title sponsors. Sponsors go to NASCAR, and NASCAR has a marketplace similar to eBay where they auction off space on all the cars every week, depending on how good you are, where you're at in points, all that stuff. Real estate on cars is worth different amounts. That's why you see them change so much.
And they also, NASCAR
and so they feed the teams.
And they own a lot of the tracks as well.
They own more than half the tracks. More than half the tracks. So,
they own
which
so much
also allows them some autonomy in terms of creating the sport the way it has been and stays, which is fair.
Right.
You know, like which gives small teams a shot. You know,
I think also drivers, people are more aware of the personalities behind NASCAR, like Bubba and Kyle Larson, and you don't really get that in IMSA. You can go to the public, and most of the public has no idea who drives for Dex. Or
I think that comes too from the fact that NASCAR has a really strong youth and development setup, like where like local short tracks from quarter midgets on up, like you're racing every weekend and making a name for yourself. That's the moment you start.
There are thousands of people racing every weekend if you consider oval track racing.
Oh my God.
You know, whether it's sprint cars
These
or whatever.
boys race so much. I joke that they really like wrenching on cars because they wreck them so often.
Yeah.
You know, like they don't want to be at home. They want to be in the garage. So like they're like, let's race this weekend too. Like,
they got to break it.
Shoot, some of my buddies from Virginia and North Carolina, they race 3 and 4 times a week.
Well, Kyle Larson's a great example of someone who gets out of his cup car and will do sprint races. Like you won the Chili Bowl or the Chili.
Shane Van Gisbergen, Scott McLaughlin, and Bubba Wallace were seen racing legend cars on a Tuesday night a few weeks ago.
Right. Will Power's running
and then guess what? And guess who won all the races? Kyle Busch.
Really?
Kyle Busch, You know, and these are legend cars are $15,000 car. You know, it's not some crazy high-end GT anything. It's none of the, you know.
Will Power's karting.
They just want to race. Will Power is showing exactly what I think will change the culture of the sport, which is he's willing to walk away from a big IndyCar contract to try and prove that he's one of the best drivers in the world. And I can same Colton Herta doing the same thing right now. Like
dude, Colton Herta, I'm so interested in his story.
Like, bro, like, I mean,
I think as far as he's someone that in IndyCar, man, if anyone can pull a lap together, if everyone were to put together their number one fastest lap, I think Colton Herta's the dude.
Oh, yeah.
9 times out of 10. Like his raw pace, I think is fairly unbeatable over a lap.
I think so. I think I sometimes wonder if he didn't have a good run, like results wise, in IndyCar simply because he wasn't very interested.
Right.
You know, like it almost kind of between that and the fact that, like, you know, American racing, like GT cars, Indy cars, everything, it can become kind of a repetitive cycle of like every weekend feels kind of the same.
Yeah.
You know, I think if you've been exposed to like European racing, like at a high level, it can get very old very quick over here.
Speaking of European racing, European NASCAR.
Yeah, I've talked a lot about NASCAR. I'm a big proponent of it because like I've become a fan. I was not a NASCAR.
Well, you've also
fan
become a driver now, right?
Become a driver, like, and so Euro NASCAR is what I've dabbled in this year. Partially just trying to find my way into the NASCAR sphere.
What's a European NASCAR comparable to?
Probably like it's probably somewhere in between an Xfinity car and like a super late model.
Okay.
So it's a bit bigger than an Xfinity or a Cup car, a little bit longer.
Okay.
They're about
longer wheelbase as well?
Yeah, yeah. I think the car's like 16 feet long or something. It's crazy.
It's a boat.
It's a boat. But we're lighter than all those cars. Like the Euro NASCAR is only 2,800 pounds.
Okay.
And it has similar like it has, I believe they're like a GT3 style brakes and
No brake assist.
no brake assist, but like
Okay.
the calipers and rotors and everything are coming off of like an older GT3 car.
Do they run ovals over there as well?
There's one oval that they were trying to run, but the FIA will not sanction ovals over there, really,
Okay.
because they don't like there's no runoff.
Right. Which is also one of the most dangerous things you can have in an oval is runoff.
Is runoff. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the you get where I'm at. But yeah, like so, but it was a series started about 15 years ago by a guy named Jerome, who's a French guy, and he saw how popular NASCAR potentially could be based on the quality of racing, and found a chassis and just basically started running his own series and calling it Euro NASCAR for a little bit before NASCAR got on board.
So he didn't have the rights to it. It was just
No.
like, it's NASCAR.
Yeah, they were like,
I love
they
that.
were calling it, what they call it, the American V8 series at one point. It had some other names, but
Yeah.
and then I believe about 5 or 6 years ago, NASCAR did a licensing deal, and in the past year they've consolidated a lot. They've changed. Like it used to be called Euro NASCAR. Now it's called the NASCAR Euro Series, and it has the same logos and everything as NASCAR. Like they've consolidated because they have NASCAR Europe, Brazil, Mexico, and Canada.
Okay.
Those are all their international series.
Wow. Is it kind of do they try to cultivate the NASCAR vibe as far as fan experience?
yeah.
Really?
Dude, I raced at Brands Hatch, and there were 55,000 people there.
Oh,
What?
Yes.
let's go.
55,000 people there, and we are the feature race. We are the show.
What else runs during the weekend?
Legend cars and like some old vintage NASCARs that British guys get shipped over and stuff like
Monte
that.
Carlos and stuff?
Dude,
yeah.
speaking of Luke Hartog, like
Yeah.
he was talking to us about this resurgence in Europe right now
Yes.
for like wanting American motorsport.
Yep.
And like, what is America doing? Right. Like from racing to
I like
fashion.
to take a lot of that credit. Just so you know. No, in all honesty, like I think what it is though is that I'm not the only one, but there's been a few of us that have gone over in the past few years that we just have a different attitude and mentality towards all of it. And I think it's refreshing for them, because like everyone over there is so like, it's about every 10th and everything,
Yeah. It's very German.
It's very German. And I only raced for German teams over there, funny enough. And I used to drive them nuts because
your positivity.
I can't help but be American, man.
Right.
Like, yeah. Like whether it's like eating pizza before my session or something like that. And they're like, what are you doing? And,
Yeah.
Or like we're testing at Spa and someone's driving like a jack wagon all over the road, and runs me off the road. We're going to treat this like NASCAR. I'm pulling up in front of his pit box and we're going to go have a talk,
Oh, awesome.
and my team's just like, oh my God, what? Oh,
Yeah.
So, if you really want to know what would change the sport and help it in general is something that the FIA is actually actively against right now, which is letting drivers be themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Bringing in more cameras in the cars, opening up the radios, letting drivers have personalities and things like that off track, letting them fight each other.
Yeah.
I'm not a proponent of fighting in general.
Yeah.
But I've been in race cars for a long time, and I can tell you that is the closest thing to being in a situation with other people with like guns or weapons of some sort, because you could hurt or kill someone like that.
Yeah.
So I am a very big fan of like what happens in NASCAR in the sense of like, because like for them it could hurt or kill you, and it also like I pay that bill when I crash.
Yeah.
They don't like there's no exchanging of insurance in motorsports, just so everybody's clear. There's no like, oh, let me get your information. Like, no, man, like I got taken out at Miami last year in race 2 in the first corner
In the Carrera Cup.
first corner. And I was on for a win for sure.
Cool.
And like first corner, this girl comes from God knows where, probably 27th place or something like that, down the inside. It seems like she never breaks, and T-bones me into like 4 other cars. Every corner of the car was was messed up, and it was over $100,000 in damage.
Are you doing the math in that moment, or do you have to wait and say?
Heck no, I don't know how to do math. And I'm definitely not doing it in that moment because I wouldn't do the math anyways. I don't got it. I don't got it. So why would I want to know? I don't got it. Somebody else is going to have to figure this one out, man. But like, it's one of those things where afterwards, she did the right thing and came up to me and apologized, but that's as far as it goes.
Right.
Mm.
You know, so I have and that pretty much cost me my season in terms of fighting for the championship. So, and that was weekend number 2 or something like that. So that's where I'm much more of a fan of allowing these things to play themselves out in that sense, because like, I also think that we wouldn't have the gentleman driver issue. We wouldn't have like a lot of these people in situations where we got guys on the track that are way off pace or just there for the social media or whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen if you have a fear of getting punched in the face afterwards.
I mean, you're already wearing a helmet.
Right. Well, that's what I mean.
Just
Like
need a little bit of
NASCAR
knuckle
drivers know
padding.
how to handle it. Don't take the helmet off.
Right.
No. If that guy's stronger or bigger than you, that you know not to mess with them too much, you know, like, and also in NASCAR, it's like the rules are have at it, boys. That's the rule in the rule book, which means settle it on track. If you fight off track, you're going to get fined.
So what's it's something that
You know.
I'm becoming a NASCAR fan, and this is kind of my second, third season where I've followed it and legitimately learned that it is a sport worth loving and worth investing in. But my initial thoughts were half the wins are completely illegitimate because second place just uses the first place car as their braking marker.
It's so true, dude.
And it's much
so
more
true.
nuanced than that. But do you think that NASCAR could do a better job of policing that? Like the bump and run.
I
type
used
stuff?
to think that was something they needed to police, but I'll give you a counter to that.
Okay.
They race 36 times a year.
Uh huh.
Whatever you give, you're going to get back.
Yeah.
Look at Carson Hocevar.
Right. Yeah, he had that run.
Like,
What was it,
he had that
Mexico
run at the
City?
beginning of the
Yeah.
season where he's doing well, he's getting close to wins, and he's also driving people off the track everywhere. And just like you race so often and with so many of these guys over and over again that no one forgets.
Your opinion is that it self-corrects.
It self-corrects.
Okay.
It self-corrects. That's why NASCAR still is the most popular, motorsport in America. It's
People
like
love the drama for sure.
They love the drama, but it also it does self-correct. I have yet to see a driver who can, outside of Dale Earnhardt Sr., who can just vehemently be an annoying, let's call it asshole, all the time, and everybody's just like okay with it.
Right. He could just give it and never get it.
You're good. And part of the reason it worked for him is because there was no one like him. Now everyone tries to be like him. So like you're gonna get it back.
I do love. I don't remember where it was, but Austin Dillon last year trying to get into the playoffs, wrecked 2 or 3 people so blatantly. I mean, we're talking right hand down.
That whole night was the best night in NASCAR in a long time. Because that was the same night that Ricky Stenhouse and Kyle Busch fought.
They got into it at the trailer. I didn't know it was the same night.
Yeah, it was the same night.
But it was nice to see, because that was a moment of frustration for me. And it was nice to see NASCAR be like, hey, we're not allowing this win because
I like
you
that.
did too much.
I can understand that.
Right.
At the same time, NASCAR could have let that go. Austin Dillon wouldn't have made it out of the first round.
Yeah.
They would have just
He would have punted.
Oh yeah. Someone who isn't in the playoffs is going to be like, I don't care.
Right.
Screw him, so I think that still would have self-corrected,
But that was a lot.
Yeah.
You're taking away from the legitimacy of the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think you are. I think you are to an extent, But I also think all of those guys knew it was coming. That's the one thing too, that as a driver, if I'm Denny Hamlin or who else was it? Joey Logano.
Exactly.
If the 2 guys he just blew out of the way. Like if I'm either of them, it's like, bro, like I've been doing this for 30 years. How often have I done that to someone?
Yeah.
A lot. Like especially on the last lap. And they also know Austin Dillon isn't them. He's not Joey Logano or Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
He is desperate for a win. So like,
and I think you see the younger drivers play that game, but also a lot of them do understand the context of a whole season and maybe starting into this battle with another driver.
I'll put it to you like this too. all of the new age NASCAR drivers know for a fact that they can't fight.
Oh, I like that.
They all know. Like here's the reality is like Dale Earnhardt Senior's era, and maybe even up to Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
That era of guys potentially had a day job.
Yeah.
Potentially like played other sports and had other parts of life.
Yeah.
Everybody at the pro level in NASCAR now started at 5 years old in quarter midgets and has just done that. They never played football, baseball, basketball, any of those things. So they all know they can't fight.
They seem a lot more disciplined generally. Like their eye is on the championship, not on like
they're thinking about it like a race car driver.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, and so like I think that is it kind of has offered a little bit of a balance for NASCAR because it was getting a little rowdy, you know. But
is that mentality? Does that transition over to the NASCAR in Europe, like that racing? You guys bumping each other?
A little bit. Oh, yeah, a little bit. But NASCAR Europe is still technically FIA sanctioned.
And also,
contact is a no-no.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Contact is a no-no.
So you're scrutinized a lot more.
So we're scrutinized. At track limits is a huge deal. Track limits in FIA is the white line. If you're an inch over it with all four tires, then you're off track. And that
I love watching NASCAR on road courses, like at the Glen, right? Like where any road course where you're just like coming through Coda, the S's is
straight through, bro.
Dollar signing everything.
Screw it. Yeah, you know, like so. That sort of stuff. The FIA tries to keep a strong eye on with Euro NASCAR, but at the same time, Jerome is very vehemently a NASCAR guy.
Yeah.
And so he uses as much of his power as he can to let us race.
And also you look at the old BTCC races, they were leaning on each other. But
he
that's the
thing is like
it's a part of the
super
culture.
Touring, all that stuff would have been the same. But like, I think over in Europe too, they kind of have an understanding that they wouldn't know what to do if everybody started fighting. So, you know, like, so they're like, let's just, you know, like
how many American drivers race? Are you kind of an outlier in that, or there?
I think there was like one or two other ones.
Oh wow,
that were running the weekends that I ran this year. But normally it's maybe one in that series, and it's similar for all the GT stuff. It's like when I race GT World Challenge or DTM Trophy or anything like that. Normally there was me and maybe one other American.
Okay,
you know, and for us, it's. People always ask why Europe? Why go to Europe? And it's like, well, you know, would you ask a soccer player that?
Yeah.
You know, because it's the same.
Yeah.
It's literally the same. Unless I'm doing NASCAR, everything from a competition standpoint, all the professionality, all of it in Europe is so much bigger. You know, you saw NLS, which is technically kind of like in between club and pro racing. Had what, like 30,000+ people there probably.
Oh, it was bonkers.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, so like
the grid was probably 115 cars and somewhere between 30 and 50,000 people.
So it's a different mentality there. So I'm a big proponent of American racing getting to that. Like from a competition and professionality standpoint. I'm not a big fan of how IMSA is right now, just in the sense of it kind of feels like a camping weekend for a bunch of people who are used to seeing each other.
Yeah.
Instead of these guys who are used to seeing each other and trying to rip each other's heads off.
Yeah.
Because that's NASCAR.
Yeah.
They see each other at home. They all go home to the same place too.
Right. Yeah. They're all going to North Carolina.
You know, like, so I think some of that sports cars could benefit from in general, even Europe. You know, and that's what you're saying. Luke he's hot on it. Like, and we were teammates. So like we know each other pretty well. And
he's a good dude for
he's
sure.
A great kid, isn't he, man? Like he's tall as hell. Like, dude, like he could have been a basketball player. But even with someone like him, he realizes, you know, we as Americans have a lot to offer to the sport. And a lot of it comes from the competition, sporting, and show side. You know, like if you follow our lead, I mean, look at F1 even. Liberty Media Group takes over. It goes from a $4 billion series to a $17 or $20 billion series in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of that is based on Americans putting their juice on it, putting that sauce on it.
We were touching on it before the podcast where like there was this totally lightning in a bottle moment during the pandemic where Drive to Survive comes out, and then the economy's doing well, and it was so easy to grow a motorsport, and now that Drive to Survive isn't the thing, and there's some questions about the economy and all that kind of stuff. How do you continue to grow the sport? How do you continue to grow or even maintain the casual fan base, right? Like, it's a pivotal moment. It's not just a guarantee that the sport will continue to grow.
Yeah, I think F1 especially is at that crossroads right now. I think sports cars is a little bit at that crossroads, but sports cars is still kind of on an upward tick right now, just because they're it's like sports cars, LMP stuff, all that is benefiting greatly from the wake that F1 Drive to Survive and things like that created.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, I think, I was comparing it to like skateboarding or something like that, where like you get these ebbs and flows of popularity in the mainstream.
Totally.
And I think racing would be silly to not really take a deep look at culturally how we can make the community more accessible, more inclusive, and more competitive.
I think IndyCar is actually doing a good job of being proactive. Not necessarily they're making all the right decisions.
Yeah, no.
But they're trying hard.
They're trying really hard. And I think, especially in Formula cars, it's tough because like what you want to see is cars race hard.
Yeah.
But I've been in a lot of Formula cars. Getting close to people is the most nerve-wracking thing on the planet, because you're just like, it's not just that you could wreck the car. It's that the ways the car wrecks.
Yeah.
It's like you just touch wheels and all of a sudden you're upside down.
Right.
Like, you're like, what happened? Like, so I think IndyCar does a great job. Their car is way tougher than it is fast.
That's also 20 years old.
Yeah.
Or not 20. It was 2012 or whatever.
What I was getting at with the NASCAR is like they have a next gen car, but they really don't care how old the car is or any of that. Like, it's something that we understand as Americans about sport is the fact that sports in a real way stems from even accessibility, even rules, like fair rule, like rules that give everybody the same thing, so we can really see who's great. Every European sport I've ever seen, like that's really big, has equipment involved that could change, has all these, there is almost a want to kind of give certain people an advantage. And I think that's what sports cars and Formula cars comes from.
Yeah.
A
lot of the competition
it's meant to be for the elite in certain senses and stuff. And I think what we can do to change that is just by showing that like all of us want to do it. So like democratizing it in the ways that allow it to be maybe a little simpler.
Totally. At the end of the day, the casual fan wants to see good racing. They don't give a fuck about the hybrid motor being X, Y, or Z or whatever. Like, honestly.
And granted, I've worked with a lot of incredible engineers that are smart as hell and like, German as crap, and they know what they're doing. But at the same time, I've also had my mind completely blown by Jim Bob, who is like, man, I figured out how to like get the metal to flex just right, and that gave us 2/10 every lap at this track. I'm like, what? Like, so I think a lot of people underestimate the fact that like, German accents are kind of like British ones. They make people sound a lot smarter than they are.
Right. Yeah.
Just gonna put that out there. Because in my experience, the German teams I ran with were very intelligent, very detailed and all that kind of stuff, but also when I look at it, reminded me a lot of NASCAR teams. It's like a very redneck approach in terms of like we can rig anything together, we can make anything work, and we're gonna make this car go. Yeah, that's the German mentality too, and they're just much quieter about it. They're not yelling at each other.
They polish it better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think we opening up how it can be consumed too is big. Like so many series, including like IMSA and all, they're still trying to do the TV model.
Yeah.
You limit your market so much.
Yeah.
IMSA is a weird one because
They're owned
It
by
is
NASCAR.
Are they?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, NASCAR's owned them for like 5 years.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I just think it's strange that they are the pinnacle of motorsport for road racing. Like with the prototypes.
Fascinating to me as well. I raced in Europe for 3 years, like I said, and over there, every European racer wants to get to IMSA. And I'm like, why? I was like, I've been to a bunch of IMSA races. There's like 13 guys sitting on the grass hill at Road America, like, like, man, this is cool.
That's exactly my point.
That's it.
It's such high level racing. They don't, I don't know what the answer is, but it doesn't correlate over to fans going and watching.
What's interesting is it doesn't correlate over to us, American fans.
Yeah.
Because in Europe, IMSA's huge.
Yeah.
The viewership for them over in Europe is insane. And over there in Europe, they all have this impression that there's 100,000 plus people at every IMSA event because it's the best. You want to be there.
No, and you go to any race.
I'm like, no, DTM, man, DTM all the way. Like that's factory level drivers all like duking it out in factory cars against each other. And,
any IMSA race, there's any number of different former Formula One drivers, current IndyCar drivers, champions from all these other disciplines. And I think it could almost be promoted as like a League of Legends type thing where it's like,
for sure,
this is where the champions all come together to have it out to see who's best. Like it's like a unification fight for.
Well, and funny enough, though, we were at Laguna and we were at the IndyCar and the IMSA race at Laguna. And the crowd was 10x. For IndyCar. Than it was for IMSA.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is great, to be fair. Like I think IndyCar definitely
part of that stems from just Indy has the history behind it too.
Yeah.
But like, part of it too is the fact that like the way IMSA presents itself is like it's still trying to be the old rich white guy sport. Their announcers, their branding, their marketing, everything is aimed at upper middle class guys in their 40s. Instead of like stick and ball sports do a great job of marketing to the thing that's going to make your sport grow, which is kids.
Who do you like now as far as drivers or teams that are those disruptors that are doing it well?
That's a good question. All right, let's see. I don't know if anybody's doing it in Formula One. Trackhouse. Really good. Let's see. In sports cars, the only one that's doing it different.
AO. Yeah, I was gonna say.
AO is the big one that's doing it different. Like,
right.
Which is good. It's good for the sport. I'm not here to hate on AO. I like them a lot. I like Rexy, and my mechanic from last year.
What is it? Rexy, Roxy,
works
and
for.
Spike?
He's the mechanic on Spike.
Oh, cool. Which is the LMP2.
Yeah. And so I'm a big fan. I don't know how sustainable that is for other teams to kind of model after, like,
for sure.
The dinosaur.
It's a gimmick,
thing.
But it does show that you can be playful and less serious.
And that's kind of the thing is like, I think that mixed with like, I'll say who's really doing things different. It's not race teams. It's not race teams. It's not race series. It's I'm sitting right at the table, right? It's like, it's livery, it's race service, it's
baby.
It's some of these brands and entities that see and some of these even like Instagram accounts that see motorsports in a much deeper, more passionate way.
Grid Life actually is
Grid Life. That's
a great example.
I like giving Grid Life as an example as to how I got my pro ride. I did one Grid Life race. And got sponsored to go race GT cars in Europe.
So that's it. It's that easy, huh?
And you can too.
That's it. But like at this, like I think really like it Grid Life, drifting in general.
Oh, drift culture. I agree 100%.
Drifting in general. If we could bring drift culture into some of the other forms of motorsports in general, like there'd be probably a little bit more laid back nature to the interaction with the fans, especially.
For sure.
But then also you'd have something to sell. Like I think the drifters get that to an extent. I would love to help mentor some of them too in professionalism. Just because they could benefit and they could probably knock some of the like IMSA out of the water if they had a little bit more organization there. But yeah, I think drifting is a big one. Who else?
They should do a road course series with Formula Drift drivers. That would be nutty.
That would be.
It would be nutty.
phenomenal.
I'll give you. I'll say this: Ryan Turk probably can't be allowed to participate because he's actually like he did a couple Formula car races, like club stuff, like a few years back, and whooped everyone.
Did he really?
Oh yeah.
I think seeing that would be great because there's such kind of a fringe thing. It's like, well, are you really
Tanner
fast or
Faust.
do you just go this way? Yeah, that
A lot
dude
of
is a
people don't
multi-tool. To be honest.
understand
Yeah,
like how good he is. Like I mean,
Right.
he won the first 2 Formula D championships in a stock 350Z.
did he really? Wow.
Damn.
It was stock.
Mm-hmm.
AEM like intake and exhaust and like an ECU, I think. And that
What
was
year
it.
was this? Like the
This
G4?
is like 2005.
Okay, so like the what was it?
2006.
Bubba Drift days?
Yeah, this is when drifting just showed up,
Yeah.
and I've known Von Gittin since that long, and like I remember Tanner Faust used to run roughshod over them because he was the best driver,
Mhm.
and then once the horsepower wars began, then he kind of faded
Bowed
into
out,
he
Right.
was like this is crazy, but yeah, I think there's definitely some culture stuff we can pull from youth in general that would shift things. But yeah, I think it's more companies and individuals who are shifting the culture than it is the teams, and the teams and series are kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They're all so deep into what they've already been doing.
They live in a world of like, this is how it's always been.
Exactly.
And-
Exactly.
But it's
which
also-
isn't true.
I
But
mean,
like,
right.
A team's core function is to put a fast car and a fast driver on track. So it you know,
you would think.
yeah, right.
But I mean, even at F1, that is not actually the case. Right.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
so
other factors, yeah.
the only place that I've seen that's pretty much guaranteed to be the case is NASCAR.
Okay.
Because for them, yeah, like if I put a fast guy in that car, that could mean the difference between 20 grand and 150 grand
Mm-hmm.
in one race.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, so they're willing. That's why Shane Van Gisbergen got the contract that he got when he came over and ran roughshod over everybody at Chicago.
Right. What a
Is
boss.
he came over and got a contract that was worth basically as much as he's ever made it, like all together in Australia
Yeah.
per year.
It's
Wow.
weird to have a road course
Because
specialist.
he can guarantee them, like, if you make the playoffs, that's an extra 10, $20 million that your team's getting from prize money and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So he can guarantee them that.
But it's weird that there's a
You
road
win and
course
you're in.
specialist that is doing the whole season, right? Because you back in the day, you had like Boris Said that would come in and do races.
Boris said would
Yeah.
come in, but he never really won. The only one that would
Yeah.
come close, and another Australian guy, Marcus Ambrose.
Oh yeah,
Marcus Ambrose was a V8 supercar guy who came over, and like you realize with NASCAR, and that's what Shane did too, is like there's two things. One is like, if I really want to be respected by these guys, I got to come do it all the time.
Right.
The second thing is like, if I want to make an actual living,
Yeah.
and you see the numbers that these NASCAR drivers can make, you're like, maybe I should learn the ovals. You know, like
But I
I
think
mean, that's even the road that I've kind of dabbled and gone down this past year. Is like, maybe I should
You do some
dig
oval
back
stuff.
into it. You
Yeah.
know, like just because. Yeah, I mean, like you want this to be a career, man. Like
Yeah.
you want this to mean more than just like a couple of plastic trophies. You
Right.
know, like to be truly honest, and I'm in my 30s. I'd like to at some point have a family and be able to own a house and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a racing addict for so long that this is the hole I've dug. You know, but at the same time, yeah, like it's either that or do what we're talking about right now, which is help shift the culture and the other sides of the sport that would allow for growth in the same way. Because like you've seen some good sports car races, right?
Mhm.
A
Oh,
good
yeah,
sports
of
car
course.
race, if broadcast properly, would be just as entertaining and just as viewed as a NASCAR race.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
You know, so like I think it's just about finding those people. And what we need right now is like we need people in the media and from sponsorship and like these brands to really lean on IMSA and some of these other sanctioning bodies to open it up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also like service us better. Give us real commentators that actually talk about our brands and talk about our drivers and talk about our stuff in good ways. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm not a huge fan of the commentators for IMSA because I was the first African American in Carrera Cup history, and they didn't care to get to know me at all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Wow.
like, you know, to the point where like this interview, this podcast we're having is, you know, hours longer than I've ever gotten to speak to them. And I, you know, it's one of those things where they're very focused on the rich guys that have been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
They want to talk about Alan Metney and, you know, even though he's maybe not winning the race.
Yeah.
No offense, Alan. You're a champion. I know it. I know it. I know it. You're a multi-time champion, and I like racing with you. But at the same time, like,
right, finding the interesting story.
The reason they're talking about him is because they know him. You know, and that hurts. Like, if you look at NASCAR, they throughout the race, that one of the reasons the races are 2 or 3 hours long is you need enough time to cover every driver so that everybody's sponsors are happy, everybody gets what they need out of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
well, so you can't ask them to do that over a 24-hour race. That's just not enough time. I mean,
well, when you're not actually at the race and you're at your house sitting in front of a laptop commentating, and you're wondering, and it's on a 3-second delay, and so you're like, oh no, what happened?
Yeah,
that's really frustrating to look at the highest level of sports cars
in like
and know that the broadcast and the
center.
media is not up to par at all.
Yeah.
You know,
do you think it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing? Like, if they had more money, they could do more, but if they did more, then they would get more viewership. And
I think that's probably the argument they would want to make.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anybody's finances, but at the same time, you know, if you look at any good business, especially in this day and age, you understand that sometimes you got to foot a bill up front in order to get some momentum behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that, like, the reality is like F1 refused to do social media and things like Drive to Survive for a long time, right? Like, right? Because they're not who I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. Well, Liberty Media made a lot more money than you did off of the sport in the past 10 years by engaging.
Yeah.
You remember even the first season, they didn't have,
they didn't have Mercedes or Ferrari
at all.
Or Ferrari,
yeah.
They refused to do it. They were like, we're not talking. And Max refused to talk,
yeah,
too.
There was no Max on there.
Yeah, you know, like, and so.
That shows the mentality.
Exactly. And I think that if we can help change that, especially sponsors have the most power of anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, the brands that are involved in the sport have more power than anybody thinks, and they've become extremely lazy.
They think, just pay the money, get the logo, get the thing.
That is one of the ways. The other ways is like they figure they have a captive audience. They have an audience that is in a space they want to go racing. We want to do racing. We want to do the stuff. But then in order to get the stuff, you know, we only have 2 or 3 choices. And a lot of times you only have one choice because no one else is a North American distributor for that brand or something like that. And that brings on then everybody doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not entertaining. That's not cool. And on top of that, you know, where's the growth potential when everybody just wants to look like one person, you know, or look like one team, you know, like, for me, the brands have so much power and they don't always realize it, you know, like, you know,
or they're not willing to do anything different.
Or they're not willing to do anything to rock the boat. Because, like, I think a lot of it too is similar to what you see in sports cars or even NASCAR, where there's new team owners, new blood in it, but they're like, you know, this old guy who's been around the sport for 40 years gave me half of this opportunity. Yeah. So I have to respect.
Tell you what,
which I'm for.
Yeah.
Like, I'm for. But at the same time, I am not the type of racer that comes from a family of wealth or anything. This has to be my job.
Yeah.
And I need the sport to get with it, you know? You know, like, like I work 50 plus hours a week just on the simulator, let alone the other things that I do. How is that not worth being a professional athlete in certain senses, right? Like, and I'm not saying just me, I'm talking about all of the guys I know who put their lives hearts and souls into this, and a lot of times their parents' bank accounts. Like how do we get it to a place where it's like NASCAR, where if you do risk the house once, you have the potential to come back with a mansion. Like because in IMSA, that's like Brad Pitt showed in F1. I'll keep referencing him, but like he showed in F1, he didn't even want the watch. Like he won the race. It's like, all right, and I'm going, because what else is there? There's, like there's no money. There's no, like, it's not like Porsche is going to call him and be like, you're in, we're going to pay you this amount because you just made us winners. Most of these teams, manufacturers, and series have such big egos about what they bring to the table that we need some advocacy on the other side for fans, for drivers, for brands.
Yeah.
And the brands are kind of the only entity I see that has the let's say the financial base
and the autonomy
to push back.
For sure. Yeah.
Which is why I'm wearing this shirt. Like for real. Like is there's a lot of opportunities. I could easily just be another, like Alpine Star literally just kind of like hands out ambassadorships because they're just giving you a discount. Like people look at us as professional race car drivers. People think that, all I do is eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, and I wake up and I have tons of money in the bank and things must be good, because I'm an athlete.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. And the ways we get there, I think, are through companies with vision that can then push the series to have the same vision, to have similar visions, and see the fact that, like, yeah, even if they're 17, 18-year-old kids and they come from a rich family, if they're that good, shouldn't they be paid?
Yeah.
Shouldn't they be valued in that way?
Right.
Like, I'm not here to downplay rich kids. Like, everybody's got their own, you can't control what you're born into. But that being said, yeah, like, if you're working your butt off, like, I know a lot of kids who like that too. A lot of them that are overprivileged, and a lot of them that work their butts off, even though dad is paying the bills.
Yeah. Well,
and they can't get a team to look at them as a pro.
Yeah. Because
dad can pay the bills.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't get fast just with money.
Nope.
You do have to put in work.
Yep.
That's with any sport, right? It gives an advantage, and it's ignorant to think that it doesn't, to have those resources. But you still got to do this stuff.
Like any sport, though, it all comes down to the fans.
It comes down to the fans.
If the money isn't coming in, you can't pay anybody.
Yeah. And that's why I say, like, and we've had this discussion, Michael, right? Which is livery, I think, is acutely positioned in a space where, let's think about the NBA in the 80s. Fledgling. Only a few teams were making real money. Michael Jordan shows up, and that whole Nike deal. I would argue that Michael Jordan and Nike are the reason that the NBA is what it is today.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They pushed that. They made basketball the sport. They made Michael Jordan the guy. And they used their marketing prowess, their knowledge, their creativity.
They pushed the sport forward.
To push it forward.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you still have guys wearing shorts and being afraid to dunk because it's like, that's taboo, like, whereas if you push and that's what I think we need in this sport is like some of these guys, I'm not saying, I know exactly who to promote, but at the same time, yeah, some of these guys out there who are winners should be promoted. And some of these guys who just are incredible wheelmen, but maybe they're not in the best equipment. Maybe maybe they're a bit of a personality or something like that. They can't get anywhere.
Well, you've amassed some really great people in your network. You've introduced us recently.
Yeah. I've got
some great guys.
I've been really lucky, man. Like, and that being said too, is like this generation's different. Like I'm a millennial. I can't quite claim it, but like some of these Gen Z kids and their approach and their mindset is what we need. But we need us to help support them. Because that's the biggest thing, right? It's like Michael Jordan could have won all the MVPs and all the championships he wanted. If he didn't have those Nikes on his feet, the hood is not responding.
Wow.
The community is not responding. They're gonna chalk it up to like, oh, you got to work as hard as him or something like that. Not, it's the shoes. it's how he carries himself. It's how it's the brand. And then you saw that oozed out into everything else they did. You know, like, and then they could go into skateboarding. And it's like the same thing. It's like, you know, like, do you have that mentality?
Same shoes are still buy them today.
See? Yeah. So like, it's one of those deals where I don't want to, I know that we're all, I'm not necessarily anybody. Like my co-driver in GT World Challenge was Tom Christensen's nephew. Okay. So I met Tom. Like, I'm nobody. He's Michael Jordan. I'm not. Like, you know, but like at the same time, like, we have this opportunity because people are looking at us to push something that is so much broader and cooler than where it's been. And we know for a fact the older brands aren't going to do it. Like, just like Adidas and Converse and them wouldn't change back then. They were like, oh, you're just going to be part of our group.
Same old, same old.
Same old, same old.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if we really want to fix motorsport, it's just approach. Approach is the biggest thing. How do we get to a place where the approach feels much more like what we especially as Americans, are used to in our everyday lives too, you know? Like, you know, I think NASCAR does a really good job of, like, when they're talking about like racecraft, they'll explain it to you in the sense of, like, you know, like when you're on the highway and someone cuts you off and you're like, you know, like, it's like they really, like, they make it relatable.
Yeah. It is a very,
that's one way of looking at it. It's a very technical and still a very old guy way, I think, of being relatable. What we can get to is what Nike and some of these other brands have done for sports, which is bring culture.
Yeah. And experience
and stories that back up why this is so important and back up why these people should be much bigger in your lexicon than you've had before.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's, I mean, you look at like Nike now, I mean, they're using that same mantra and things like that to promote women's sports. And now we're getting signature women's basketball shoes and I've seen guys wearing signature women's basketball shoes and stuff, because if the women didn't have that power individually, but when you add a brand that people already identify with and already feel a cultural connection to, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge. And like when I got into racing, I'm famous for being on another podcast and saying Nike should do motorsports. I was very quickly reached out to by high up people at Nike who told me it will never happen. And they made it very clear. I thought, I was like, man, that's kind of ridiculous. Like, you guys could be in this. And they told me something I had never thought of, which is they were like, it's too much exposure. They are one of the richest companies in the world. And the moment someone wears one of their fire suits and burns themselves, they
don't want the image.
They don't want the image or the amount of money they could lose.
Oh, wow.
On those litigious things. So they're not going to make equipment. That's why they don't make football equipment. They just make the cleats.
Yeah.
That's why they don't, like, you know, like they don't go down any of those roads because they don't want to invite in someone blaming them for, like, oh, I broke my arm in your suit or something like that.
And motorsports clothing is unique in that it is technical equipment on a different level than.
And your life depends on it, you know? So, but that's also why I think these companies have so much more power than people think.
Yeah.
You know, not to mention when you start adding people of color to any sport, it immediately gains style. And because you just have different approaches, right? Yeah. And I think that is something that's so missing in racing. Yeah. Racing is monkey see, monkey do, right? Like everybody, stripes. One guy wins. Oh, he had stripes on his car. Everybody puts stripes on his car. You know, like it's very much that. So I think it would benefit from feeling and seeing brands and companies allow you to be more of that individual while still engaging in it, even though you can't see me in the car half the time or whatever. You know, like when I get out, I still look fresh. I still do the thing, or I still, you know, like if you're a tire company, like, you know, why hasn't every tire company embraced drifting?
Yeah. Crazy to me.
Wouldn't that mean more money?
I know. You think that would be almost an endless source of people buying tires.
Bro, like, so for me, like,
but they're afraid of the image.
There it is.
They're afraid of the,
and that's the thing is like, it's funny that they're afraid of that image because we all know throughout history that is going to win out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to win out.
Every one of those like hip hop, right? Like all the way down.
Bro, rock before that.
Yeah.
Like they didn't want that. They were like, Bob Dylan, you play that folk music. And he's like, no,
Keep that devil music out of here.
Yeah. It's like, come on, bro. Like, electric guitar. So I really do think that we are the ones. It's like everybody wants to blame all higher up this and it's their fault, but we can change it.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
And that's what drives me now, actually. Like less about goals to win like Le Mans and all this other stuff. I would love to, and I'm still planning on it. But I see an opportunity here for us to affect so much more than just my own life.
Yeah.
In that sense.
So much more than just a race.
For sure.
So much more than just race.
Yeah.
In that sense too. Like it's so much more than all of that. And like, it's funny you guys made livery your name and logo because it speaks to not who you are, but what you put on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that, liveries are the most popular thing in racing, period. Like, like Rexy is Rexy.
Yeah.
Because of the livery.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I see things like this. I see companies like a race service or like, or even some of the manufacturers. Like I know Mercedes has done some good jobs, like kind of embracing youth culture recently. Toyota has done a great job of kind of quelling their ego and saying, how do we claim to sell cars to everybody. How do we sell motorsports? How do we sell motorsports to them too? Like how do we allow this? So like, I think there's that, but I still, look, you had Spalding, you had all these other great companies in basketball and places like that too. You need someone who isn't afraid of the establishment, even if they don't have it, like from a financial standpoint or whatever, to take it on, but they need to take it on in the same elite nature and professional way that the companies they're trying to beat are doing. And that's what's hard.
Yeah.
That's what's hard is like, we need that. And that's what I'm trying to do as a driver. It's like, I need to, the grid would look much different if a lot of people had my experiences and my attitude towards it, right? It'd be a much more positive and also competitive grid. I see that and I understand that I just have to keep being present.
Yeah.
Because like Luke Hartog, he could easily be one of those European kids who is just like, oh, winning. And like, anytime I don't win, it's just, my life is ruined. And we're friends. And like midway through the season, he would have he had a couple okay races, not perfect as he would like to think, and he would look at me, I would like, we're still here though, and he got it, he got it on that level. And so you see him now happy to like do GT4 stuff and happy to like just be where he's at and pursuing it instead of like so hard on himself for not being the next F1 champion too, like, and I think that's the other thing. It's like, everybody wanted to be like Mike, but everybody knew they couldn't be Mike. You knew that. But at the same time, it's like, if you can give people just a little bit of that and let them come touch it, feel it, engage with it, like that's huge. I think that's what the sport is kind of missing right now is a few people, but like probably more so just a community and a culture that says, you know what, this is ours.
Yeah.
And we're here for it.
Yeah.
We're here for all of it.
It's not missing. There's just not enough of it.
Yeah.
Thanks to you, in part.
Oh,
well, dude, we appreciate you coming out, man.
I appreciate you guys having me out. Like it's, like I said, it's a revelation to be involved with people who want to evolve this and take it to a different place and a different level and see the community.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that.
So
how do people follow you just to
so
close this out?
I'm an old man. As I said, I'm a millennial. So like I have Instagram at racer_Jordan23. That's how you can find me. Not doing a ton of racing the rest of this year, but keep an eye out because we got some plans for next year and beyond that I'm pretty excited about.